What's up, y'all? So there's a thought that hit me recently, and I'm actually struggling with it because when I played basketball, I came back home, I went to work, and then I ended up jumping into the world of like marketing, finance, more like in a 1099 space, right, where I kind of get a chance to create my schedule and marketing, branding. I have an insurance license, all this different stuff. And in that season, I started to speak a certain rhetoric, which there was some truth to it, but it also wasn't all the way true. And one of the things I used to say was like, "Oh, if you have a job, it's like modern day slavery, and all this different crazy rhetoric, and you fall into this trap and of just we talk about echo chambers, and it's just like it's just this rhetoric, right? And so as I've grown and I've continued to just meet people and just continue the journey of evolution and learning all this stuff, you realize, first off, that's completely false, because there are people that work jobs that make more than people that are entrepreneurs or contractors or 1099, whatever the case may be, and that live pretty decent lives, pretty good lives, right? And so I'm gonna be honest with y'all. So here's what I'm struggling with, right? I've been studying a lot about history lately. I'm talking to my dad. My dad's dad, first black mechanic in Memphis. I've been having conversations with older individuals in my life, from different places, North Carolina, New York, just so many different perspectives. I have mentors that I learn from. I have, so many people, and I'm gathering perspectives and I'm processing things. And here's something okay. When you look at labor in America, let's look at the evolution of labor, okay? And this may turn into a very sensitive video. When we look at labor in America, what was the first labor that we are aware of in America? Maybe, I don't know if my timeline will be right here, but when I think of labor, especially when I think of the lowest level of labor in America, I think of forced labor. Right? Now, obviously, forced labor in America was called slavery, right? You had a race of people who were put into forced to work, and they were not paid, and they were not able to leave. That's called force, right? And so you have forced labor, and man, this is sticky, but it's just true, man. So there were people at the time that said, hey, what are we supposed to do? We need things done. We need, farmland tilled. We need, someone to, help here and help there. So it has to happen. It became justified. Like it was excused, right? Like we make excuses to not have to get better. And so because we don't have to get better, what we're doing is okay. So slavery was okay to some people until, thank God, freaking rationally minded human beings said, no, F that, screw that, right? Okay, cool. This timeline piece is where I'm messing up a bit, but I do remember growing up learning about indentured servitude, which indentured servitude was a step a little bit above slavery, where it was like, it's not just to one race, and also it, has a timeline. So you work for me for a certain amount of time, and then what happens? You're granted basically your freedom, right? And so you're good to go. Okay, so we have slavery, we have indentured servitude. My question would be, what's next after that? Okay. And like I said, I'm open to comments. I'm open to being wrong. Please tell me I'm wrong, and let me do a follow-up video. Here's what I'm realizing. I'm just going to start sharing things, not because I'm like I guarantee you guys my perspective is right, but I also do want you guys to see that like it's okay to share what what you think and what your beliefs are, and it's okay to be wrong and to evolve and transcend those moments to continue to grow. So anyways, my question that I'm processing is, what's after indentured servitude? We have slavery, we have indentured servitude, and then from there, what's next? Okay. And so for me, I think industrial revolution, or no. You have indentured servitude, and then you have maybe agriculture, where you have your own place, you farm your own land and so forth. there is also some, yeah. I mean that. So that's something, right? But then there's also like the Industrial Revolution where these companies are being built, and now we need people to work for these companies. So you have what we would call like wages, right? Wages and salary and all this other stuff. And so what that is, indentured servitude in my eyes is I work for someone for a certain amount of years, but the challenge is I give them like all of my, then they pay, either they pay my way or they give me my freedom. Salaried work is next because I'm not giving away all of my life. I am giving away 40 hours of my life a week, 200 hours a month, and so forth. That's way better. However, I'm giving away 40 hours of my week, and then I get paid a certain amount. And, if I do enough and I make enough, then I am sent on my way into retirement. Okay. And so if I'm extremely skilled or if I'm really good at saving the money that I'm getting paid, eventually I can leave sooner. And yeah, I would personally call that retirement. And so from there, I'm like, okay, is there anything better than that? And that's where I started processing like, okay, cool, maybe contracting, right? Where like you're 1099. And like, here's the thing though, and that's the thing, the scary part about freedom, because I think about, well, you have your time and you're free to do what you want, but you might not be making as much money because, like you don't know what the freaking heck you're doing, right? And the challenge that I'm having is, to me, that would mean, okay, what do I value more? Do I value my freedom or do I value like security? Okay. And there's a big merit in valuing your security because, you got to take care of bills and stuff like that. Here's the challenge that I wrestle with. If I go back to when slavery was the forced form of labor in America, and, let's say Harriet Tubman comes to me and she says, hey, do you want freedom or do you want security? And so, yeah, I guess it boils down to like where your values are. Like, what do you value the most, right? Like, do you value security or do you value freedom, right? And, like the way I process things, like, well, why do I have to have one or the other? Why can't I have both? I think here's the challenge, like, so, okay, to be very honest, and here's the thing, the reason why I'm like kind of hesitant with this is because I am the last person where I want to attribute something to like, it's kind of like slavery or this or that. No, you're talking about people dying, you're talking about people being forced into labor, no type of compensation for it or anything like that. It's a human tragedy that should never, I mean, we still have, I think, 40 million people enslaved in the world today, whether it be through, I think, like sex work or even like forced marriage and stuff like that. And so the world has still growing to do. But the challenge, or like what I'm struggling with, is personally just my value set, and I'm okay with it being wrong, or like I'm not judging anyone for having a different value set. I'm just expressing like where I am in life. Honestly, my value set is that I value my freedom over security. But that's a problem, right? Because like I've had times where I'm free, but I don't know where the next paycheck is coming from. I'm just being honest, and like that's a scary life to live, and no one wants to live in that like anxiety and stuff like that. So that's when I process like, okay, how do you have freedom and security? And then that makes me think of a guy, Deion Sanders said something. He says performance is the new job security, right? And the idea behind it is like, where do you place your security? Because I think about it like, okay, I've had times where I have my freedom, but I have people that are friends of mine that they have a job that maybe pays more income than like my business did at that time. Like, and that's okay. Like, it just is what it is, right? And so you got to choose like which one do you value most, but it's still choosing one or the other is still what's the word? It's still scarcity, right? Abundance says, why do you have to forfeit security for freedom, and then why do you have to forfeit freedom for security? So then I process, okay, cool. Well, just to be honest, to be in an office for 40 hours every single week doing something I don't want to do, that for me, I'm not willing to do that because I I want my freedom, right? However, I also want security. But then it becomes, okay, cool. So maybe you work from home. Maybe you have a job where you work from home, and the company's paying you, income, and that income is consistent, and you work from home, so you have your freedom. So that's like a solution, and that's where work from home became so big. And like IT is a really big field because a lot of people can work from home. And I know people that are in IT and they travel, all this different stuff. Here's the thing though, that job that job that you're working, that maybe that work from home job though, it's not paying you residually or passively. Like, you still do have to work on someone else's time or clock. I got a friend who worked at Amazon Web Services. Even though he could be in Bali and he's on his laptop, but he's on the clock, right? And so I'm like, okay, well, do I want that? That's kind of like freedom and security, but it's still not necessarily all freedom. Because what? Because, I'm on the clock. I think that's where the question becomes like, okay, how do I get my freedom and my security? And it goes back to Deion Sanders, where he said, performance is a new job security, where it's like, do you put your security in, like, okay, I'm working from home, I'm on a laptop, I put my security in that job paying me every single week. That's where my security lies. However, I got to be on the clock for them. Or do I put the security in my ability, in my skill set? And then and I think for me, like, I feel like, at least for what I've seen, people who put the security in their skill set, it forces them to improve. Because you're not willing to be just free and broke, but you're also not willing to be, I guess, stuck and paid. So it's like, well, I want freedom and I want stability. Well, then that means I have to put my skill set is what makes me feel secure, or like my ability, or my creative, my ability to, to create new systems and stuff like. That's where I put my security. And I just can't. I feel like that is what would force a human being to become the best version of themselves, because the security in your life is on you, and the freedom in your life is on you, right? So I mean, there's like this pathway, I guess, and it's just obviously it's what everyone wants, but it makes me think, okay, do some people want certain things because of their fear of transcending where they're at, right? Like, you think about like someone who's, going back again, and it's not to attribute anything, but someone who's a slave, and then, Harriet Tubman says, hey, it's time to leave, we're free. And then that slave says, I don't even want freedom. Why are you? No, I don't want freedom. I want to stay. I would ask myself, does that person want to stay because they just want to, to be controlled forever? Or does that person want to stay because they feel like it's safe? And how do we encourage encourage that person and pour into that person to show them that there's more to life, like there's a better life out there for you, and that like the freedom is worth it, like the fight to freedom is worth it. That's what we say all the time, like there's a cost for freedom. Like America's free, but there's a cost to it, right? And like there's a cost to freedom, but it's worth it. And so you have, at least for me, what I see, and I could be wrong. Hey, hit up ChatGPT, ask ChatGPT if I'm wrong, and then spit it back to me and tell me I'm cool with it. But what I see is, slavery as forced labor. It's the lowest form of labor. From there, you have like indentured servitude. From there, I feel like there's salaried work. From there, it's like contractor work. From contractor work might be like, like platform, like leveraging a platform. So for example, my jump into the world of entrepreneurship wasn't necessarily building my own company yet. It was leveraging a platform, right? Whether it be like YouTube, you're leveraging YouTube, you're adding value to YouTube, and then YouTube's paying you, or like network marketing. That's what I was doing, network marketing. You have a platform, you're pouring into that platform, you're helping scale that platform, you're also, receiving, so you're leveraging platforms that are built by other people, right? Cool. From there, I think that's when that next phase, so that's like, platform, that's where that next phase becomes like, now you're the one creating the platform, or you're building, or you're, Like, yeah, you're you look at like even social media and stuff, like all of us, myself included right now, obviously I'm leveraging YouTube platform, sharing content on YouTube's platform. I think what's really powerful though, or what where true freedom is found, in my opinion, is the person who built YouTube, right? Because somebody created this platform for other creators to use it, right? Mr. Beast used YouTube in order to, get his message out there, build his brand and so forth. But now Mr. Beast is building and creating Feastables and systems and platforms and company and stuff like that, right? Same with, so yeah, I think the freest person in the world is the builder and the creator. That's somebody who has put all freedom and security on their shoulders, and they say, hey, I trust myself, I believe in myself, I'm going to build, I'm going to create, and so forth. And I do believe it's all based on everyone's appetite for risk, obviously how big they're thinking, how much they believe in themselves. And no one should be forced to think bigger or believe in themselves or to risk more. However, I do believe that, I believe in free will. Everyone has free will. I also believe that the truth should be exposed so people are aware, right? Like, so people are aware, because if people are aware, they now can choose where they want to fit. Like somebody who's, let's just go back to it. It's the lowest level, but I think it hits home. Somebody who's a slave, who's unaware that there's a whole world out there. If there's people who are aware, it's their responsibility to let that person know, hey, there's a whole world out there. Now, it's not that person's job to force them to leave. Got free will, you got to choose on your own type of thing. But if Harriet Tubman comes to me and says, hey, there's a whole free world out there, now I have free will to choose, and I can either choose I'm going with you or I'm staying. And I think that decision to go with or to stay would be predicated on, do I believe I can survive? How bad do I want out? Am I okay with staying here? And am I okay with, I think that's the big thing is, am I okay with dying here? Am I okay with staying here and living a life of what if? Like, what if I would have left? What would I have experienced? What could I have seen? What in the world, what could life have been? And for me, those possibilities of what could be are like daunting, I guess. And like, I feel like daunting or inspiring, both. It's like, I don't know. I don't want to live a life where I'm at my deathbed and like, man, if I would have took risks, like, who knows? I could have lived the entire life, saw the world, shared my story with the world. But that'll never happen because I was okay with staying put, that type of thing. It's tough. It's tough. But anyways, this may stir up something because to me, I can feel it's a heavy topic, and it's not trivial. It's not just like, you can be listening to, it's like, it's not that easy. It's like, it's not. However, we all do have free will and decisions. And I think the bad thing about social media is that things are portrayed in a way that's like fake, and people are trying to like, it's just fake. The good thing about social media, is that we are getting exposed to things that we were never exposed to in the past. Like, I was with Avriana yesterday, and I was on Instagram. I saw this picture of this nice house. I'm like, dang, that looks dope. Like, I was like, and it's not, like, I'm not literally like coveting that person's house, or I'm not like, oh my gosh, like now I'm dissatisfied with my life. However, I was like, man, that would be cool. Like, that's a nice house. And I realized, like, if I was never exposed to social media, I would have never even, maybe I would have thought of it on my own. I would have created it. But it broadens your horizon where you're able to hear people's perspectives. And who knows, somebody watching this video, this may be the first time you come across this perspective, And, if nothing else, I think it's good that you're aware. What you do with that awareness is on you, and no one can judge you for your choices. Like, no one can judge you. And I think, I'll just be honest, in the past, I used to judge people who wanted things differently than me, and it's just so backwards, because at the end of the day, where you're at, where you've chosen to be at, someone else is could be looking at you like, why are you choosing that? That's stupid, you know? So anyways, yeah. Man, share this, man. Share this with somebody. Please comment, because I want to hear y'all's perspectives, because I'm processing this. And I got, I process things with people, my family, my brother, my dad, I have business partners I process things with. I have friends and so forth. But I don't know. I just feel like this is something that people should see. And yeah, hopefully it sparks a dialogue. I have a feeling some people won't like this video and some will, or whatever. Hopefully you hear it's coming from a good place. I'm just like, I really think it's like a construct that either we're not aware, some of us are not aware of, or some of us have been presented in a way where it was like a condemning way, or like, people are made to feel bad about where they've chosen to be. Hey, why are you're an entrepreneur, you're chasing after money, you're bad. Or, hey, you're, working a traditional job and security is your thing, you're bad. Or, oh, you value freedom, but you're bad. It's just like, no one's bad, man. People have choices. I believe, that statement, no one's bad. I really believe that people are innately good. And then when they don't know who they are, they act out evil things or do bad things. But I do believe that humanity and human nature, human nature is good, innately good. I believe humans want to be good, and we have certain impulses, human nature impulses. I believe that divine nature is good, for sure. I believe that we were all created to be good, and we live in a world that influences us to do bad. So anyways, that's all, man. That's all I got for today. A little longer, but yeah, peace.